guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. How are you doing? Before we get into it today, I'm counting on you guys. I need a good TV show or movie recommendation. The last great movie I saw was called The Alpinist. I loved it. I saw it inside theaters. I heard the new Dune movie is pretty good, so let me know if any of you guys have seen that one. But I need a TV show or something. Right now, all I'm really watching is Celtics basketball. Big Celtics fan from the Boston area, of course. Anyway, guys, let me know. Don't give me something average either. Don't give me an average or above average TV show. I want a real good one. Something really good. Something with some meat on the proverbial bone.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head? What the world needs now is love.
I don't know why I said that because there's no correlation, but today we're going to talk about 9 amazing arena nukers. These are my top 3 nukers for every rarity inside the game. AoE arena nukers, not single target. Who wants single target anymore, right? Single targets suck, right? I mean, not really. Some of them are actually pretty cool, like Little Miss Annie and Krutraxa. I can kind of go on, but for the intents of today's video, it's going to be just, should we start with rares? Just going to be AoE. Start with rares or legendary? Let's start with rares, okay? So the first man up is actually going to be a champion we've been talking about a little bit here on the channel as of late. It's Bellower. I might do an updated guide on Bellower because this guy has like 3 super viable ways that you can build him. A campaign farmer, a nuker, debuffer, or a debuffer crowd control.
I got broads in Atlanta. I am so amazing.
He's amazing. You want to be, if you're using him as your arena nuker, he has 3 AoE attacks, which is great. So if you don't kill anybody on the first shot, you come back around, you try again, right? His A2, though, much harder hitting than his A1 and his A3. So do not lead off with his A3 inside the arena trying to get that decreased defense and decreased attack. Try to kill everybody on the first shot with that A2. That's a 4.2 multiplier. Very, very good multiplier there on the Mighty Bellow ability. His attack doesn't scale as well because it's only 1k, but either way, you can get by with Bellower. I slightly prefer Bellower to Elhain. That's just my personal preference. By the way, quick pause here, time out before we get to the other 8 champions. Who do you use as your main arena nuker? Maybe give me your top 1 or 2 arena nukers that you use on your account. I used 4 champions, and I will tell you who they are as we get to them on this list. I'm including my tag team arena teams and a variety of different strategies depending on who I'm facing, right? So next up, we have the OG of Raid Shadow Legends, the guy who I refuse to call Kale, or whatever the heck they called him. I'm convinced that dude was wrong in the Raid Shadow Legends commercial who called him Kale. It's Kale. Everybody knows it's Kale.
Not really in a position to do that, are you?
Kale is actually really, really good. He's a starting champion. You guys already know him. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him. But Acid Rain has a 4.65 multiplier on it. It deals a lot of damage, and it fills his turn meter as well. You can't go wrong with Kale, especially in the early and the mid game in the arena. Great speed farmer. He's really great everywhere. To me, he's still the class act of the starting champions in the game, although Elhain and Aethel are actually pretty good too. All right, last but not least, it's actually a demon spawn champion that we did a full guide on recently here on the channel, guys, and boy is Marquess an absolute animal. She is, first of all, defense-based, guys, and if you look onto her A3, this is an incredibly hard-hitting ability. Expect more damage from Marquess than you're getting from Kale or Kyle or Bellower, guys. Attacks 1.
I think the way the public perceives me is probably a really different person than I am.
Not the A3 there, Ash. A2, crush the weak, and indeed it does. Cool thing about her, too, is she's a little bit slower than everybody else we've spoken about. She's dealing more damage, and she's defense-based, so she's easier to keep alive. You can put her on a go second team and not have to worry about her dying as easily as some of those other glass cannons, right? So anyway, this ability has a 4.6 damage multiplier based on defense, plus extra damage. Deals extra damage to enemies with the weaken debuff. Now, she's placing weaken, but you can have a more reliable debuff placer going ahead of her, and that's going to be an extra 3 times multiplier on the extra hit, the extra damage. If you want to check out the guide that I put out on her, you guys can do so in the description below. She's an incredible arena nuker. Not a lot of people talk about Marquess. All right, let's go into the epic categories here, guys. Starting out with I was gonna say my favorite, but not anymore. He's really close though. Magnar's one of my favorite champions added this year. Very, very good nuker, man. This guy's incredible. This A2, right? Percussive pound attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies without HP burn debuffs. Has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies under HP burn debuffs. So the idea here is nobody's going to be under HP burn debuffs to use him in the arena. He's HP based. Everything we said about Marquess applies to Magnar. We can keep him alive much easier, build him with a ton of HP, right? Pretty easy to build, and he's much faster at 100 base speed. Really, really hard hitting ability here, guys. In talking like insanely hard, like Sir Nick hard, avoid legendary. That's what we're getting out of Magnar. I use Magnar. He's one of the 4 nukers that I use on one of my tag team arena teams, and I just love watching him just toast everybody with that A2. If you have Magnar, you know what I'm talking about. All right, next up is going to be one of the OGs in the game, and she is incredible still. Skullcrown. How could I leave her off the list here? By the way, I'm snubbing so many champions on all of these rarities because there's really, probably, in my estimation, there's probably, you know, 10 or so viable at least arena AoE nukers in each category. So these are just my personal faves. She has a speed aura in arena battles, so a lot of people run Skullcrown as their lead. She has an AoE on the A1, chance to place an extra hit. I think it's a 1.9 multiplier, I believe. Don't quote me on that on the A1, but you get a second shot at landing. Her A2, though, is the way to go. That's what you want to open up with. I believe it's a 4.3 multiplier on the A2. Man, I'm starting to really remember these multipliers now without having to look them up. So many videos talking about these champions, I guess. She has a resilient passive as well. An unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn every time their HP drops below 20%. Makes her incredibly annoying to go against in the arena, incredibly versatile to go on your team, right? You get that extra kind of chance at life vis-a-vis this passive. All right, let's go on to the third. And this, I think, is my favorite. I think he's my favorite. I made a video on him too. I'll include this guide for you guys. You got to check it out, dude. Jumbobo the Dishonored. I waited so long because I already had a bunch of legendary, you know, champions, a bunch of epic champions too. So I thought to myself, why do I need Jumbobo? Why do I need to build him? I already have nukers. Boy, was I wrong. I should have built him way sooner. He leads off with this A3, increased crit rate, increased crit damage, grants an extra turn. So you lead off with that ability, you get your extra turn with extra crit damage, extra crit rate. Because of this, for the arena, you can just build him 70% crit rate. So you can put extra emphasis on maximizing his crit damage. Then he goes in with Heartless Blitz. It's insane. It has I forgot the multiplier. I think it's around like 4-ish on this multiplier, but it hits hard. It hits hard enough. And again, keep in mind that we're getting the increased crit damage, increased crit rate as well. And check out this passive, immune to decreased attack and will ignore unkillable buffs. So he is a solution when he's under increased attack. So he's a solution to the Skullcrowns out there, right? He can still one-shot Skullcrown, ignore that pesky unkillable, ignore the Duchess and Swift parry, and he's void affinity, which means he's a little bit trickier, a little bit harder to get your hands on, but when you do, you don't have to worry about subbing in and out your nuker based on the affinity matchup. He's going to be good to go against any affinity inside the arena. Let's talk about the Legos, guys. Okay, so these are really it's hard to say they're my top 3 because I love Jumbobo that much. I love him that much.
Really? How much?
Let's start with the most obvious here, Trunda. For, you know, a couple years standing now, she has been the quintessential AoE arena nuker. Her A3 has one of the highest multipliers in the game, although it is 60% damage on the AoE. However, I love her A3. I like opening up with her A3. Some people open up with her A2 inside the arena, especially if they're using more of a hybrid build. But to build her properly just for the arena nuker, you want to build her with no accuracy. That way you can get a double hit on the A3 Forge Rhythm. So again, build her with little or no accuracy. Only accuracy on her should be the 10 base accuracy plus whatever your great haul is, if you can afford to do so. That way you're getting that second hit, and she hits like an absolute truck. I mean, you know, what does Hades say? She never misses leg day. I mean, golly. I don't know why I said that, but there you go. check out her legs. Next up is going to be, so she's incredible, right? Next up is going to be a champion I actually don't have, but boy, do I wish I did. It's Fawn, man. Fawn is Force Affinity, which is a great affinity to have your nuker, a great affinity to have everything or anything inside the arena, because there's a lot of magic champions out there, and you have matchup advantage or affinity advantage if you have a Force Affinity nuker or Force Affinity champion in most cases. He has a very hard-hitting A1, which doesn't really apply to the arena so much, but it's worth mentioning. Place an extra hit and the target has any buff. It's a 3-time multiplier times 2. That's a lot of damage, essentially, off of that A1. Off the A2, Butcher's Glee, man. This is a horrendous ability because I've never used it. I've only gone against it, and inevitably I feel like my team is destroyed by it every single time. Very hard-hitting ability here. He also has this ability where he's placing a bunch of buffs on himself, and he's dealing 40% more damage when attacking under a veil or perfect veil. So he can really add a lot of damage. He got buffed about a year and a half ago. Before that, he was really trash champion. Now he's one of the better champions out there, certainly in the arena. Last but not least is a champion I just got my hands on. You may argue maybe it's a recency bias because I just got him, but I have to say that I will stand by this one. It's Leorius the Proud, or Leo the Proud, because I'm probably butchering his first name. First of all, really cool champion. When this A2 is not on cooldown, he's immune to stun and freeze and sleep and provoke and fear and true fear. You don't have to worry about any of that crap inside the arena when you have Leo on your squad. He's not going to be CC'd. He's not going to be crowd controlled by Torment. He's not going to be frozen. You don't have to worry about any of that. Don't have to worry about putting him in immunity gear for such scenarios or having a cleanser on your team. He's got you covered. You're going to lead off with your A3, which he applies True Fear. True Fear has a 50% chance of the enemy losing their turn, and that skill they were going to use goes on cooldown as well. So it's a very powerful crowd control ability. More than that, though, before attacking, he's placing the big version of Weaken, and he's dealing a lot of damage off of this ability. Awesome Roar indeed. Really enough to one-shot most enemies inside the arena. And really what puts him over the edge for me personally, why I chose him over other arena nukers who also have strong AoE attacks, such as Foley, such as, well, I could go on and on. There's a lot of great legendary nukers out there. The reason I chose Leo, though, is because of this passive. It's similar, the same essentially, or very similar, I should say, to Skullcrown, except for it preempts a fatal hit and places that unkillable on him, right? Damage increases as his champion's HP decreases as well, so he can dish out a ton of damage if he's low on HP or has 1 HP because of this kind of fail-safe ability in True Grit. Overall, he has amazing synergy. Here, let me show you him in the arena. Why not before we end the video, right? All right, I don't want that. Let's go to the arena. I want to show you Leo. I've been having a lot of fun with him. So let's just go against the first team we see here. It's a Mountain King, a Duchess team, a Lydia, a Valkyrie. Really, I think that these 3 champions are all top 5 champions in the game. I'd put Krisk and Sify along with them, and those would be my top 5 in no particular order. Anyway, let's go against them with this team. I've been just messing around with different teams here. You'll notice there is no debuffer on this team, so what I'm going to do is actually take out, I'm going to take out Torment. I'm going to put in Madame Ceres. Even though they're likely to have a lot of resist because they have a resist or a lead, my Madame Ceres has a very healthy amount of accuracy, so I don't really worry about her. 652 on the accuracy should be enough for this team. They don't have a high enough team power for me to be worried about too many resists. So here we go. Let's see what happens here. Auto off, speed boost. Kymar comes in, CCs the enemy team. He CCs 3 of them, so that's great. Let's go ahead and let's see what he does. I'm going to slow it down, guys. And again, this is his A3 ability. Let's see what we can do here. Boom. All right, so we got a couple resists on the True Fear. His accuracy, I want to say, is around 300. So this battle is far from over because Duchess is going to pick everybody up. Let me go back and double time speed and see what we can do here. So keep in mind, if that hit was going to kill him, it wouldn't have, right? It wouldn't have killed him. So let's go back in here, strip away their veils, and go right back in with a turn meter boost, and now try to kill everybody. I think this will do the trick here. Boom. There we go. So really handy, really cool champion between the True Fear, between the damage, between, you know, everything else that he brings to the table. He's one of my favorite nukers. I'm so happy to have pulled him. I kind of got lucky there on my last Void Shard opening video. Guys, who is your main arena nuker? I will leave you with the question that we started the video. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know who you disagree with. Who did I snub and who should I have taken off the list in, you know, exchange for the champion that I snubbed? Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Appreciate you guys, and as always, take care, guys.